Welcome to Disruptive Capitalists, the show where purpose-driven entrepreneurs and bold investors share how they're reshaping the world by investing time and money in a way that improves lives and creates wealth. So let's get to it. Everyone, thank you for joining us again today for another great episode of The Disruptive Capitalist, where we talk about using capitalism to better the world. My guest today is Mark Willis. Mark, thank you so much for joining the show. Mark is a certified financial planner, 3-time #1 best-selling author, and the owner of Lake Growth Financial Services based in Chicago, Illinois. And you also have your own podcast called Not Your Average Financial Podcast. And man, Mark, thank you so much for joining the show.
Sam, so glad to be here and excited to disrupt what folks maybe originally used to think was capitalism and really show what it can truly be for folks and how it changed lives and has eradicated so much poverty around the world.
In fact, it's the only thing that eradicates poverty, as it turns out. Poverty is the lack of money. Capitalism is money, all about money. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. You might say I'm not your average financial planner. I didn't get started in this business on purpose. I was in debt up to my eyeballs with student loan debt, came out of the Great Recession with no job, 6 figures of debt, and more importantly, no plan to pay it all back. It was student loan debt. So my wife and I jokingly say I married 2 women in college. It was my beautiful wife, and Sally Mae was along for the ride as a spouse too. Yeah. She wanted a payment every month, and we were sick and tired of paying her. So it was out of a pure, raw, dogged necessity that we figured out this money thing for the first time. What's a budget? What's a credit card? That kind of basic stuff. And funny thing is these student loans, although I was just reading a USA Today article that 20.5% as of May 2025, 20% of borrowers are more than 90 days late on their student loan payments. So that's 1 in 5 of us at this point. So fast forward a few years, my wife and I were able to pay off our debt, not just pay off the debt, but we became the banker for ourselves. Which unbelievably changed our life. It changed my life. It changed my family tree. To become your own source of financing and kick your bankers to the curb is what became my relentless pursuit for my own financial picture, but also now as our financial firm has taken off, we have thousands of clients in all 50 states, and it's my great honor and privilege to get to see their lives transform, not just with that one tool, but with the comprehensive financial planning that we use and approach from a sort of a counterintuitive angle in many ways.
So tell us what that means, becoming your own banker, infinite banking. Tell us what that means.
Yeah, it's a sort of a counterintuitive idea. It's sort of like saying, hey, how do you become your own source of financing? How do you become the villain in your own story to become the hero? The Darth Vader moment when he goes from villain to hero at the end of Return of the Jedi. It seems sort of counterintuitive. It's almost like jujitsu. You take the problem in most people's lives, the attack in most people's lives is the debt that they carry. I was reading in a U.S. Census Bureau study that a little over 37 cents on the dollar is going to service debt. So how do we take that major, massive problem of debt and make it the solution? Most people think the answer to that is to follow the Dave Ramsey method and just pay off the debt, throw money at the problem. I was doing that, Sam, and I woke up about halfway through the project, and one of my mentors said, "Mark, is it possible Dave Ramsey could be wrong about something?" And I had to agree with him. I had never really considered that thought. So I had to agree with him. And we looked at all right, what's the problem with paying cash? And this was the wake-up call of my adult financial life. It was when I realized that you finance everything. You actually finance everything. Either you pay interest to a bank or a credit card or a finance company, or you save up money and pay cash for whatever it is, and you pass up interest you could have earned on the money.
Yep.
So in essence, you're financing it from your future self. In fact, I would rather pay interest to a banker today than steal from my future self by robbing the compound growth that I could have earned on that money had I not bought that lollipop or that car or that whatever instead. So the idea of opportunity cost hit me like a ton of bricks at that moment. And so we dug into this concept of what if you could buy back your debt rather than just pay it off? What if I could become my own refi company for myself? And so, yeah, the infinite banking strategy was what sort of opened our eyes to this. And it became not just a tool, but it became a philosophy for living, to not just go downstream financially and kind of flow like a tennis ball floating down the gutter of life, becoming the victim, which is what I see so many people do, but actually, no, swimming upstream, going to the source of the problem, the four-letter word, DEBT, and actually becoming the banker, not just for paying off my student loan debt, but then for all of our major purchases, our major investments, and of course, now becoming a private lender for other people as well.
So, I mean, what are you going to tell somebody if they're like, hey, I'm, $50,000 in credit card debt and I make, $5 grand a month, 5 or 6 grand a month, which there's plenty of people out there that fit that profile. It's a pretty difficult profile. And the person who's singing to them the most, the siren that's out there the most, is Dave Ramsey, right? And not to bash him, he figured out a niche and he exploited the heck out of that thing, and it makes a ton of money from it. And that he uses to lever into real estate and other things that he uses debt for, which I don't think he talks about that on his show, but he does. What would you tell somebody like that?
Well, he's certainly speaking the right things to a certain group of people. And the most important thing I can say, having been the beneficiary of Dave Ramsey for many years, was budgeting does help, paying attention to the money. And we have 4 key rules that we ask people to follow if they're at that point and they just need that basic block and tackle. First is give every single dollar a job. Prioritize your cash. Whatever's in your bank account today, what job does it need to do for you before you get paid again? That's the first rule. Second rule is, plan for the rainy day. There's going to be unexpected expenses. Third is roll with the punches. So when things screw up, don't treat your budget like it's behind stained glass. No, break the glass, start fresh. You can change your budget 3 days into the month. It's no big deal. Some people think they built that budget and they set it in their files system somewhere and they haven't looked at it in 19 years. That's not a budget. That's not a budget. And then the last is let your money live on last month's income and try to at least live on 30 days old money. How old can you age your money? We have silos of cash. When you do this right, you're going to build up these silos of cash where you're living on at least last month's income. And that's a counterintuitive, sometimes revolutionary idea for folks who are, earning 50 grand with 60 grand, I guess, a year with 50 grand in credit card debt. So most people would follow the Debt Snowball Method, which is Dave Ramsey's coup de grace. The Debt Snowball Method is you line up all your debts, smallest to largest, or whatever, interest rates or balances, whatever you prefer. And then you attack every debt one after the other, and you throw dollars at it until they're all gone. That feels good. It's sort of the refined sugar of the financial universe. Okay, what's the problem with that? Well, just like a refined sugar diet, you get this empty feeling in your bank account. You're like, oh man, what's that emptiness I'm feeling? Oh yeah, it's all that lost opportunity that I could have continued to grow that money. So what's the alternative? Well, we actually trademarked it, Sam. It's called the Debt Snowbank Method. And to a little bit of a wink and a nod to Mr. Dave, you still line up all your debts. You still live within your means. You still pay your bills on time. But instead of throwing all your extra dollars toward that smallest, debt balance, instead what you do is you throw tons of cash, whatever you can afford, up to the point where it becomes a challenge for you, into an asset that grows and compounds and is built to be accessible to you at any time. This is, in other words, known as a bank on yourself designed whole life insurance policy. Now, this is a very special kind of nuanced form of whole life insurance, not the kind that you hear about from Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. This is a kind of whole life insurance that you can borrow against and treat it like a line of credit to yourself. You're in control of the access of that money and the repayment to yourself. You become your own source of financing in essence. So borrowing against that policy wiped out my student loans one after the other, after the other, after the other. This would be the advice to somebody who has, a certain amount of debt that they could pay off. Throw all that you can into a policy, build up your own bank reserve, you might say, borrow against it, pay off those debts one after the other. And here's the key. When you access the policy through the policy loan, Sam, the cash value in the policy, that liquid money, is going to continue to grow and earn interest even on the capital you borrowed.
Yeah,
so this gives us that uninterrupted compound growth that all of us financial advisors like me are looking for. And then we get to repay that loan on terms that we set, not you, not some banker, but you, the owner of the policy, the person managing this entire experience. You are in control of the process. You become your own banker.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's when I learned about this this path, it just kind of blew my mind. And a lot of people point to, although it's not quite the same, but to the Rockefellers versus the Vanderbilts. They passed on all their stuff to their kids. Their kids went and blew it all. By, I think, within 2 generations, it was all gone, right? Or the vast majority of it was gone. The Rockefellers, who set up essentially whole life policies, and the kids could borrow against it.
Mm-hmm.
And that wealth got preserved indefinitely.
That's right. Yeah. Which of those legacies do you want to leave? Not to say the good that Vanderbilts have done for, this country is diminished, but that's preparing a big pile of money for the kids without the more important task of getting the kids getting ready for the money.
Yeah.
You want those kids to be just as prepared as your money is for the kids. They need to know your values, your principles. How are we going to make sure that this money doesn't go from, soup to nuts in 3 generations? There's so many proverbs about this, right? Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. How many businesses make it past 3 years? I was reading the longest owned family business in the world is Hiyoshi Ryokan. It's out in Japan, and it's in its 46th family generation. It's been around for over 1,000 years.
Wow.
Now that's forethought, man. That's thinking long range. And that's the way I want to think about our financial lives. Why should your financial plan stop just because your heart did? Mm-hmm. It should pass on to, even if you don't have kids, to the missions that you care about today. Mm-hmm. Your mission hopefully is bigger than you are. Otherwise, what kind of mission is that? So, let's build a financial plan that goes out at least 4 generations.
God, I love that. That's legacy, right? And if you invest and create something meaningful, then it's a super powerful legacy, right? That's amazing. So what do most people, when they come talk to you, what are they mostly interested in, or what are they mostly struggling with?
The biggest piece is just, Mark, I'm sick and tired of seeing my money go to some financial planner, and in return, I get no guarantees, no plan. What is the end result of typical financial planning? It's put your money in these index funds, hope and pray that the market does what it's supposed to do. Defer your taxes. Oh yeah, wait a minute. What does that word mean, Sam? What does the word defer mean? It just means push it off until later. Well, where do most people think over our lifetime, most people think taxes are going? I don't care about this recent tax bill. I don't care about this president or that president. I'm talking over the next 20, 40, 50 years. Where are taxes going to go? I don't care who won the last election. The next election, and the one after that, and the one after that. The one I care about is the final election of this country will be settled by the math party. That's the one that's going to win.
The math party.
Math is undefeated. Reality is undefeated. So do we really want when most people sit down with me, their major concern is, Mark, I feel like I've given away my agency. I feel like I've given away my certainty. I've given away my control to the financial gurus of Wall Street, the IRS, which if you put the words "the" and IRS together, what does it spell? Theirs. They think it's all theirs. So they think that they feel as if it's all slipping through their fingers, that they work so hard, but where does it all go? And so most of the work that we do is helping people reclaim their certainty, reclaim their agency, reclaim their empowerment, and give them something that they can actually say, yeah, that feels like a plan. That feels like something I can count on, something I can build toward, whether it's kids' college planning or retirement funding or investing in syndication deals or just running their small ice cream shop business, whatever it might be. It's my responsibility as a certified financial planner to do the right thing and act as fiduciary for my clients, but it's my privilege to watch them transform and to get the aha moments, the feeling like, oh wow, we've got this. We're going to be okay. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
That's fantastic. It's just, there's so much misinformation out there in the marketplace and so much misinformation, particularly on like Instagram and socials. And then we have this whole entire education system that doesn't teach people anything about money, which is arguably two most important things in life are your relationships with others and the money. And
which is your relationship with others. I would actually say money is just a certificate of good performance from mankind. If you are not earning money, it's something is going wrong in the way you are caring for and serving other people. And the people who think, oh, well, only greedy people or evil people get wealthy. No, that doesn't work. Maybe the one rare case, the Madoff or whatever, but 99.99% of the billionaires solved some significant problem that we all are better for. Look at Amazon, Bezos, right? Look at the solution where I can push a button on my phone and groceries show up in 90 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever. That's unbelievable. I will gladly count him among the billionaires, even though I may not agree with everything he says or his politics or whatever. He solves problems. And that's the best thing about money, is that it's a direct corollary to our relationships with others. And I totally agree with you. Those are the two most important things in life.
Yeah. And, it just astonishes me how much hate there is for billionaires in the world. But yet they're ready to call Amazon. They're very, very happy to get their stuff.
That's right. They're hating on capitalism through their iPhone, drinking their Starbucks on their MacBook that costs $3,000 or whatever.
Yeah. It's the hypocrisy is incredible. But
I guess we all could. We all have our hypocrisies here and there, but that's just an obvious one. There's never been a more powerful tool for eradicating poverty in the world, on a human level anyway. Certainly we can go spiritual if we want to, but on a human level, then the idea of the invisible hand and markets and capitalism, it's something I commit to pretty strongly.
Yeah, Vietnam's been a great example of that just in recent, really in our lifetimes. The change from communism to capitalism has changed that whole place. You look at South Korea versus North Korea. I spent a lot of time in South Korea. Beautiful, amazing. I've not been to North Korea, but you can see there's a difference. So wonderful. We're getting close on time here. There's a lot of CFPs in the world, a lot of certified financial planners. And criticism that I've always had based on my experience with just a few CFPs that I tried to work with, or they try to work with me, is first thing they want me to do is to invest in an index fund, which I can do in 5 minutes on the app. I don't need to pay somebody to do that. And then the next thing is they're trying to sell me life insurance. Talk to me a little bit about that, and what is it that you guys are doing different? I know you already talked a little bit about this so far, but in general.
Sure. Yeah. Well, hopefully by now you can see this is not a pitch for a financial product. It's a mindset, or it's a game-changing approach. It's a coaching relationship. It's something that I think it changes how you impact your own personal life and the lives of your family. If someone is just there to sell you something, that's going to come out. You're going to get that commission breath before too long. And what you want instead is the best thing you can do is fall more in love with your clients than you do any kind of financial tool or philosophy or product out there. So yes, Are you going to change your life without financial tools? No. You can have a great conversation. You can have a great approach. You can have a great discussion. I mean, concepts are great, but you can't get your car out of the mud without applying a little gas and leverage. And that's going to mean actually activating and implementing a financial tool. Maybe that's life insurance, maybe that's stocks, maybe that's real estate. But the most important thing is, do we start there, or do we start with the human? Do we start with the heart? Do we start with, where is it you, your family? Where do you guys need to be? What does the tools available help you accomplish? What do you need money really doing for you? That's one of the best things you could do. If you never talk to me again, guys, if you're just listening to this, grab a legal pad and just start writing down adjectives. Get rid of nouns and just write down adjectives. What is it that I need my money doing? And verbs too. Here's a couple to get you started. I want some accessibility. I want predictability. I want a good rate of return. I want tax-free. I want legacy. I want leverage. I want collateralization. I want privacy. Okay, that starts to filter your products pretty quickly. Those are just the things that I came up with on the fly, Sam. Is there anything else that you'd want your money, if you were just painting with, a magic wand, what else would you want your money doing for you?
Not get lost.
Not get lost, yeah.
Right.
Have a GPS on that money. Yeah.
Yeah, in volatile times, people don't want to lose money, right? No,
that's right.
People don't, but it just becomes a very big concern. And so
yep.
We're out raising money for our fund, and biggest question is like, what are you doing to de-risk the investment, which is perfect for us, government contracts. Like, that's how we de-risk them. But
so getting some certainty that money won't go away. You want to make sure that it's there when you go to look for it. So for everyone listening, I would just say, write your list down, come up with your wish list. There will be a financial product at the end of that rainbow, and somebody will have to sell that to you. Hopefully you're there to buy it, not to have it sold, if that distinction makes sense. What I mean by that is, figure out what you want first. Don't listen to what somebody else tells you need. And the first thing and the freest thing you can do is just write your wish list down. And, we've done a full, we call it the money matrix. We can actually point you to a free access. If you want to access those questions or more, you can certainly reach out to me and my team, and we can get you that money matrix. But the most important thing you can do without me or anybody is just write down what you really want your money doing for you, and then look for financial tools that help you accomplish those things. I was floored when I saw, what I really wanted relative to what was out there and what was being promoted by the financial gurus on the radio.
It's striking, the difference. And if people haven't caught what you're saying here, is there's so many vanilla plans out there that don't really help you at all. They're really focused on getting a fee out of you. And I've just seen it over and over and over again. It's remarkable to have a planner who's going to look at you and be like, how do I help you?
Yeah, and a lot of people think, well, 1% fee is not too bad. Think of it this way. The Department of Labor says over a 35-year period, a 1% fee on your money will lose you 27% of your life savings. Add to that the taxes due on that money. That's another third of your life savings gone to the government. And then don't forget volatility. People think that markets, if I get an average rate of return, that I'll just fall off a log and get 9% or whatever average rate of return. That doesn't happen. No. Volatility destroys compounding. That's a key phrase right there. Volatility will destroy your compounding. I can give you a great average rate of return and you actually lose money in that experiment. We don't have time, Charlie, to go over the experiment, but do the math on that. Look up the difference between average rates of return and the compound annual growth rate, i.e. the internal rate of return, similar calculation, and you'll see just how pathetically low the real return of actual investors are over the long term of the market.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Lots more to talk about, but I know we're up on time.
We are. Mark, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. Always good to talk or to speak with someone who knows and understands their craft inside and out. And folks, if you're considering working with a financial planner, I'm going to ask you one last question, Mark. Who's your target audience? Where should they be, or where do you want them to be before they reach out to you?
Well, we work best with people who want more certainty and control and agency in their lives. That mostly comes down to people who are business owners, people who are looking into alternative investments, like some of the work that you do, Sam. And then they, simply use some of the financial strategies like Bank on Yourself to be their cash reserve, their warehouse of wealth, to then deploy into opportunities like real estate or business investments or syndication funds, et cetera, et cetera. And we've had so much fun working with folks who are ready to think outside the 401k box.
Yeah, great. If that's you, how do they reach out to you, Mark?
Well, I've got a special brand new book that just came out last week. It's called The Business Fortress: How to Grow, Protect, and Exit Your Business with Confidence. I co-authored it with the business consultant David C. Barnett. He's all over the interwebs and more. It is jam-packed full of, if I could write a simple book to any business owner to help keep them out of bankruptcy court and into the 7 or 8 figures zone, when they go to sell that business, it would be The Business Fortress. And you can go to newbankingsolution.com. That's newbankingsolution.com. And if you just want to date me first, you can go to our podcast, which is Not Your Average Financial Podcast.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'll make sure those are in the show notes. And brother, always a pleasure. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Sam. Let's do it again sometime.
Yes, sir. If this episode shifted your thinking, then share it with someone bold. And remember, capital is a tool. Use it to build a world you are proud to live in.